The USDA's latest crop progress report shows 99% of Nebraska's winter wheat has emerged, with 54% rated good to excellent. To get a better idea of the crop's status across the state and discuss any potential challenges, we talked Monday with University of Nebraska-Lincoln professor and wheat growers presidential chair Stephen Baenziger at UNL's research farm in Northeast Lincoln.
Overall, I think it's in pretty good shape. Basically, we've looked all across the state where we have trials, and with the exception of Grant, which is in a pocket that's been dry all summer, most of the wheat's come up well, most of it's had adequate moisture, most of it, if we have a nice fall, will go into the winter in great shape. So I think with the exception of a few pockets of drought, we're in very, very good shape.
We have had a very warm fall. What does that do for growth of the crop?
Well, it will tend to have the crop grow a little more than perhaps the growers are used to seeing. If you had a grazing option, you might want to think about that in the spring when it comes out. But other than using a little more moisture, I think we'll be fine. But you will see a lot more top growth. I do worry a little bit about some of the wheats that are what we call require vernalization, a low level, but are photoperiod insensitive. We've seen in some of our segregating populations some wheats that look almost like they've begun to joint. Those will be damaged. But I think almost all of the traditional, tried and true winter hardy wheats in Nebraska, they're going to go into the winter just fine.
You don't have a big worry about winter kill?
Not yet. I mean, you can always have, we haven't had a winter yet, but no, I don't think the top growth is what's going to hurt you. There's plenty of secondary tillers. To me, winter killing's always been done by not having a good crown. And there's no reason, unless you have in one of those really dry pockets, where you don't have a fantastic crown.
So this warm fall, what problems could it have brought along?
Well, the things that you've already heard about are the rusts. We're seeing a little stripe rust. That's a cool season rust, and Stephen Wegula's talked about that. And I believe he said that if it's really bad, you might use a very inexpensive fungicide. If it's not really bad, then I think you count on the freeze killing the leaf and killing the rust. And then in the spring when it comes back out, if it's dry, the rust won't propagate either. The other disease you have to worry about would be things such as aphids still moving. So you could get a little barley yellow dwarf. Warm falls always help soil-borne mosaic virus. Wheat streak mosaic virus potentially in the west when you've got the mites moving, things like that. So there are some diseases where the fall could have come a little earlier.
A year ago we talked about Hessian fly. Is that a problem?
Hessian fly historically isn't too much of a problem in Nebraska, and I think we were lucky because I know in the eastern part of the state we got a freeze one day about the right time for the normal fly free date, basically just shortly thereafter. And so that should have killed the fly, and then we had a warm spell after it, but the fly, the adult, should have been dead. So if you've had a freeze and we had ours in mid-October, you're probably okay. Otherwise, it could be a problem, absolutely.
I'm curious what you think about the management of this year's crop with prices so low and margins where they are. Is there a different way that growers should be managing the crop?
Well, I guess, is there a different way growers should be managing a crop is a different question than is there a way that growers will be forced to grow the crop. I think every grower is probably going to look at their inputs and see what they can cut, okay? My biggest concern is I don't want them to be penny wise and dollar foolish. And 2 years ago, a lot of growers, the price was low, didn't think they should spray for fusarium head blight or scab. And that took a crop that was probably 40 bushel, maybe 50 bushel, with good test weight to a crop that was probably 30 bushels or less with horrible test weight and such vomitoxin that they couldn't really sell it. So, for the price of a few dollars per acre, now it's expensive, they basically lost a crop. That's not the kind of risk that growers should take. I still recommend good quality seed. I still recommend seed treatments. I recommend that you have adequate fertility so you can get a good crop if you need it. And, once you've invested all that, it hurts, I'm sure, when you have to pay for a fungicide, but if you need it, it'll pay for itself, just to buffer the risk that way. So I think every grower is going to manage it to be economically risk adverse, but again, Don't be penny wise and dollar foolish on this crop.